Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. Well, the madness that were the back-to-back releases throughout Broketober and November have calmed slightly, and this has allowed several YouTubers like myself to finally sit back, take a breath, and take stock of where things are at currently. And this, of course, inevitably led me back to Star Citizen, as it is Cloud Imperium's recently celebrated their 4th anniversary. The Twitch livestream that was posted did include a fair amount of information, as well as the standard level of hype being trotted out for the occasion. Now, I did sit through the stream in its entirety, and after one wades through the standard giant helping of ship porn and mindlessly pedantic pandering in an attempt to pry even more money out of your wallets, there was some interesting news to be had, and so I thought that warranted a brief discussion. And as always, by discussion, I mean I sit here and talk into a microphone while attempting to sound authoritative and important enough for someone to actually take me seriously. Now, what I'm referring to is the somewhat surprising announcement by Chris Roberts that Cloud Imperium would be showing their internal schedule to backers and the general public. This was done in response to the pressures that Cloud Imperium had been receiving for more visibility into production. But I actually did want to talk about that as well for a moment, so please bear with me. So there's been a fair amount of noise being made on the community forums and even on the Star Citizen subreddit in regards to a lack of meaningful information being shared. And while a good number of people will continue to spout that Cloud Imperium rhetoric, that their YouTube content offers tons of visibility and updates, the vast majority of it is little more than fan service once you boil it down, and it doesn't really offer any insight into the nuts and bolts of the current development of the game as a whole. Now, this criticism follows on the back of a long series of setbacks, persistent issues, and PR management that hasn't always been up to the task of dealing with certain issues in what could be considered a consumer-friendly manner. Couple that with the controversies that have sprung up surrounding the development of the game, the exceptionally toxic and insular tribalism of the RSA forums, and Cloud Imperium seem to be constantly embattled on all fronts. As a result, meaningful communication and technical updates have been few and far between, and despite what many people would say to the contrary in regards to all of these issues, they are problems that have been needing to be dealt with for quite some time. Arguments have taken place one way or the other in regards to these, but it seems that Cloud Imperium is starting to wake up to the fact that, whether an issue is real or perceived, when it comes to public relations, there really is no difference or distinction between the two. Perception, even an incorrect one, can shape the realities surrounding situations like these more than they seem to understand. Now, the game has faced significant delays. This is a fact that no one is in dispute about. It is the explanations and excuses behind those delays that many seem to disagree on. So for the purposes of this discussion, we'll be leaving the reasoning, explanations, and excuses aside, as they've no real relevance or bearing on the topic at hand, or at the very least not in this particular aspect of the discussion. The fact is, the game, for myriad reasons, has suffered significant issues at nearly every turn, and there is a small but growing community of backers that have begun to become disenfranchised over Cloud Imperium's handling the dissemination of information, at minimum from a PR standpoint. Instead, what bright and shiny new ship you can buy for $20 to $2,000, they've been wanting information and answers instead of that, and this want for information that has been, for the most part, been met with complete and utter silence, which has caused an even further buildup of resentment, dismay, and in some cases even outright mistrust, to the point of people canceling subscriptions and seeking refunds. And while, yes, I know there's going to be at least one Cloud Imperium fanboy out there that will say, "Good riddance, we're better off without them and their toxic behaviors," because there's always at least one, I would ask all of you that are actually capable of reason to stop and consider the following. The behaviors of those that have become disgruntled actually are understandable. And this isn't due to scope creep or mismanagement or the toxicity of the fanboys. It's due to a lack of awareness and understanding on the part of Cloud Imperium, most notably in their upper management and public relations. Now, had they been more willing in the past to relate actual technical information as opposed to a never-ending stream of forced hype and ship porn, this issue would be far less pervasive than it is now. Even further, it is actually quite surprising that Cloud Imperium has maintained such a cavalier attitude towards these issues for so long. Star Citizen is a crowd-funded game. It lives and dies at the whim of the consumer. By its very nature, it is different than dealing with a publisher. More like dealing with hundreds of stakeholders would be a more apt comparison. Now, I'm not saying that Cloud Imperium needs to waste vast quantities of their time, and by extension our money, by itemizing and reporting on every aspect of the game. That is unrealistic and completely unsustainable. And whether you're a detractor or ardent supporter, as long as you have any semblance of reason in your argument and take more than half a second to think about the situation, you will understand just how onerous and tedious that would be to a developer, and how quickly that would grind development to a complete and utter halt. That said, it's been clear for well over a year to many people, myself included, that something other than the status quo needs to be done, or else this will devolve into a significant issue and could even have the possibility to snowball out of control and bring the game down simply through negative public perception. And it seems that Chris Roberts is finally waking up to this fact himself nearly a year after many of us had already come to the same conclusion. Now, before someone gets defensive, that's not a slight to Chris or to Cloud Imperium. That is from an outsider's perspective looking in, which always allows sometimes a clearer look at things. But also, conversely, had they taken the time to listen to those that were taking exception to things, then they could have come to this realization themselves a lot sooner. But here we are now, back to the 4-year live stream and Chris Roberts' announcement that they will be granting access to Cloud Imperium's internal production schedule. This is a level of access that could very easily be a double-edged sword for Cloud Imperium. This could be used by detractors as a weapon should timelines be perceived as deadlines, and those then be missed, moved around, or pushed back. As a manager and project lead for an IT consulting firm, I understand project timelines very thoroughly. These are very much living documents that are subject to change at any time. These are more of a where do we stand right now type of thing, and gives an insight into which aspect of the project is currently being actively worked on, the estimated completion, and next steps planning. From an IT standpoint, I have seen these exact same types of timetables go through revisions, sometimes even as often as multiple times in a single hour. So based on that knowledge, I find this move by Cloud Imperium to be, as I said, a surprising one. As stated by Chris Roberts, and from what I understand from the industry as a whole, he was very much telling the truth when he stated that not even publishers get access to that form of documentation. These are typically strictly internal documents because of their living nature. Now, reason being for that is it's very easy for that information to be misconstrued or misused. Now, this does not give any additional technical insight into the current process of development, but it does certainly give something, and it shows to me that Cloud Imperium felt they simply had to do something or risk their persistent PR problems spin further out of control. Does it give us what many feel we should be getting? No, most certainly not. But at the very least, it is a very large step in the right direction, and it is a decision that I actually can find little to fault outside of the potential dangers it actually presents to the company itself. But when you look at things from a dispassionate standpoint, you're left with the simple fact that the tribalist followers of Cloud Imperium will continue in their blind faith of the game, as well as ardent detractors be equally as blind in their naysaying. And that leaves those that are capable of what you've heard me and other reviewers utter in the past as a healthy level of skepticism or cynicism when it comes to the gaming industry. And those people that are capable of that skepticism will also very much understand the potentials and the dangers of such information, as all others will simply do what they were already going to do. Hate or love, supporter or detractor, their minds are already made up and are unlikely to be changed, even if this information were to be misconstrued. So now that I actually think about it, perhaps it wasn't as great of a risk as I had originally considered when I first started recording this. But what we're left with is a never-before-had level of access. Does this help speed up the development of the game? No, most certainly not. But what it can do is help allay some concerns, as people can actively see the timelines that the developers see, hopefully unfiltered and unaltered. And I would urge everyone to make full use of this information and to please be careful not to misconstrue the information contained therein. It is an interesting insight into the development side of the game that many people typically will never get the chance to see, and I for one look forward to reading these project timelines thoroughly. And while I'm at it, ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. And if you're already a subscriber, please show your continued support and share this video far and wide. Shout it out to the world, posted it on the Star Citizen subreddit, on the RSA forums, plaster the links to bumper stickers and children's lunchboxes, do it all. Because an informed consumer is an empowered consumer, and in the current state of the gaming industry, consumers need all the power they can get. Well, thanks again for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I am SidAlpha, and I will see you next time.